to a new episode of Bravo Charlie's. Today we're going to do a video that's been requested. I asked you guys about a month ago if you'd like to see my beef vegetable soup recipe. I have 5 other soup recipes. I'll put some links across here every once in a while with some of those soup recipes. I'll put them down in the description below, the links for my other YouTube videos on the soups that I've done. I've always wanted to do beef vegetable, never had a chance. So I'm going to do it for you here today. This is my beef vegetable recipe. It is the basics of any beef vegetable soup. You can make adjustments to this. I am going to use potatoes in mine. You don't have to use potatoes. You can make adjustments as you see fit. So what we're going to do is go over the ingredients first. I'll explain what I have on the stove, and then we will get moving on getting everything in the pot. So first of all, and this is my biggest secret, my biggest tip, is use a sirloin roast. Don't buy cubed up beef chuck in the butcher counter. You can get it, it's convenient, but it's tougher meat. It just doesn't taste as good. It's tougher to chew. If you buy a sirloin roast, it costs a few extra dollars, but trust me, it is well worth it to spend the money on a good piece of meat. Now you can get slabs of sirloin steak and cube that up, or you can get a sirloin roast and cube that up, which is what I'm going to do. I'll push that aside for a minute. I have 4 to 5 garlic cloves that I have put through a garlic press to get them nice and small. If you don't have a garlic press, just chop up the garlic very, very fine so it melts into the broth, into the soup. I have 4 to 5 tablespoons of parsley, fresh parsley, chopped up very fine. I have 5 carrots that I've chunked up. I have 4 celery stalks also that I've cut up into little chunks. This is diced finely half of a softball size onion. So like a sweet Vidalia onion, a Spanish onion, yellow onion, something like that. Half of a softball size onion chopped up there. This is my grandmother Marie's secret salt seasoning. Put that link right here because I made that video about a year ago, but I'll put that back up here for you. I make this in a large Tupperware, well, I don't want to call this large, but for spices, a pretty good size Tupperware container. Seal it. I'll make this once every few months, and then I have it for quite a bit. We're going to use this for seasoning the meat when we brown it in the cast iron pan right here with some olive oil. At the end of the video, if I feel that, I'm sorry, at the end of the soup, when the soup's almost done, if I feel that it still needs a little bit more seasoning, I'll just add some salt and pepper to it. But this is going to be for browning the meat. Then I have 4 cans of vegetables. Now, I like fresh carrots, fresh celery, fresh parsley, fresh garlic. My personal preference is I like Del Monte green beans, cut green beans. Maybe it's because that's how my grandmother used to do it. I like this. You can use fresh green beans by all means. I prefer 2 cans of regular cut green beans along with 2 cans of whole kernel corn. Once again, you could use fresh, you could use frozen, whatever you'd like. I prefer these from a can. Now, in the pot over here, prior to me prepping all of this, I started the 2 quarts of beef broth with a 1.5 quart of water boiling about an hour ago, and in that is a soup bone, a beef soup bone that looks like this. Now I have this one in a plastic bag because I buy 2 at a time, and I freeze it and I get it out when I need to. This is a beef soup bone. You can also get ham soup bones. And Ella, I'll buy these occasionally for her and give her the smaller ones. And she was across the room, smelled it come out of the bag, and she thinks this one's for her. I'm sorry, baby, this one isn't for you. But that beef soup bone has been boiling down in there so the marrow and all of the meat that's still on the bone comes off. I'm going to leave that in there for the entire time that I'm cooking the soup. At the end, I'll just take it out and discard it. And as a tip, never give a dog a cooked bone. The raw bones are better because once they're cooked, the bone becomes brittle, and that's what can break off and get clogged in their throat. But if you give them an uncooked bone, it's nearly impossible for them to get through, and they still get all the marrow inside. Perfectly safe, perfectly healthy for a dog. So, I forgot one thing. Potatoes. I am going to peel 4 potatoes, and I am going to peel them. I'm going to peel them with my Rotato Express electric peeler. If you haven't seen the video on this or purchased one of these, I'll put that link right here too. This video actually encompasses a lot of things I've done before. Grandma Marie's salt, this electric peeler, this Lodge cast iron skillet. There's a lot of things in here that I've done before and I have videos on. So feel free, when you see these links up here, click them, bookmark them, save them, watch them later, and hopefully you learn a lot from these videos. So I'm going to get that all cubed up. I'm going to get the potatoes peeled and cubed up, and then you'll rejoin me once I'm putting everything in the pot. Take that back. You'll rejoin me when I start browning the meat. I'll show you what I do there. Then we'll put everything in the pot. Okay, so we are going to brown the meat. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. You could use regular olive oil or extra virgin olive oil for this. But since it's not a dressing, and it's just to keep it from sticking to the bottom, just regular olive oil is fine. I already have this pan nice and hot. And all we're going to do is I'm going to do this in 2 batches. I'm going to add half of this, and by the way, this was a 3-pound sirloin roast, and I cut it up into bite-sized chunks. So I'm going to get half of it in the pan. I'm going to add a generous helping of the Grandma Marie's special seasoning salt to this. It's got pepper, garlic, celery flavoring, everything in there. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to brown this up. I'm going to brown up the other batch. This should only take 5 or 10 minutes tops. You just want to get the outsides of the meat seared a little bit. The pan should be on about medium high. And we just want to keep turning these. Let them get them all flat on the bottom of the pan. And then get one side brown, flip them over, let the other side brown and sear up a little bit. Then we're going to move them to this plate, bring the other batch in, get everything on that plate, and then I'm going to show you the order of which we put everything in the stock pot. Okay, so here we are with the about 3.5 quarts of beef broth, and what you want to do here is you want to add the hard vegetables first. So we're going to add things like the carrots. Those go in. Onions. That goes in. Celery. That goes in. This is already boiling. It's been simmering for an hour, but I'm turning it up to a boil now, back to about medium high. We're also going to put in the aromatics now. So that means the parsley, that goes in, and the garlic goes in. At this time we also want to add the potatoes. So I have these cubed up, and you don't want to cut the potatoes too small, but bite-sized like you did the meat will work just fine. So we are going to add the potatoes to this. Now some people will also put tomato. Chop up a fresh tomato or 2 and put it in your beef stew as well, or beef soup as well. Unfortunately, I don't have any tomato today, so this isn't going to have tomato in it, but by all means you could. Now you're going to add tomato near the end. If you do put tomato in here, you're going to add that near the end, and you're going to put that in with the soft vegetables like the green beans and the corn. So we are going to let this come to a boil now that all the hard vegetables are in there. Then we're going to add the meat. Then we're going to add the soft vegetables and add a little bit more water if we need to. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have in here so far. We have all the hard vegetables in. And let's see, let's find that bone. There it is. You see that beef bone that's in there. And the marrow, see if I can get a better hold of this to show you without burning myself or making a big mess. You can see, there we go. You can see that the marrow, that bone was full before. I think the camera's starting to steam up. But there you go, you can see the marrow inside the bone is starting to melt away in the boiling broth. So as soon as this comes to a boil, then we're going to add the beef, and then we're going to add the soft vegetables. Okay, this has come to a boil, so let me grab the meat. And there's a lot of juices in the bottom of the plate. We're going to add all of this to our boiling soup mixture. And remember, the beef now has been seasoned very well. So as this goes in, it's going to continue seasoning the soup, and then we'll check it at the end to see how it's doing. Okay, we have that in. And the cans of vegetables I'm going to add now too. I drained about half of the juice out of each one of these cans. There is still, as you can see, some juice from the green beans in there and the corn. I did leave a little of that in there. And I'll show you a close-up in a second. This is a large pot of soup. It is coming right to the top of this container, of this stock pot. By all means, you can cut this in half, but I will take this and put it in individual containers and freeze it. And instead of opening a can of Progresso soup or Campbell's Chunky, get this out of the freezer, let it thaw out in the morning so you can have it for lunch or have it for dinner. And trust me, this is a heck of a lot better. So at this point, we're going to let this come to a boil again and then simmer. I'm going to turn it all the way down. See, right now I actually have it on high. Camera focus, there we go. Have it on high. Let this come back to a boil, and then I'm going to turn it down to medium-low for about an hour, covered. At the end, if you like your soup a little thicker, you can make a mixture of 2 tablespoons of cornstarch with 4 tablespoons of cold water. Whisk it together really well, and then put it in here to thicken it up just a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. But we'll see how this looks when it's done cooking, if I want to do that or not. Okay, so it's been about an hour that this has been boiling, simmering, and the consistency is still very thin. So I think I would like to add a little bit more thickness to it. Not like a stew, not like a gravy, just a little bit of thickness to it. And I did go ahead and taste it, and it did need about, I'd say, 2 tablespoons of salt and probably a teaspoon of fresh cracked pepper. So I did go ahead and add that to give it a little bit more flavoring. Other than that, it's perfect. I mean, you can see the vegetables, everything is cooked. The potatoes, the surest way to know the potatoes are done is, I don't have a fork handy, but let me just take this knife. If you find a piece of potato and stick, if it just falls right apart like that, then you know that the potatoes are cooked through, the vegetables and the meat are cooked, and you're ready to go. So I do want to add a little thickness to this, so all we're going to do I have about a third cup of cold water, and we're going to add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch to that. I'm eyeballing this, but about 2 tablespoons, and whisk this together real quick. And while the soup is still boiling, I'll just pour this in and let it boil. There we go. Perfect. Let's get all of it out of there. And now we'll just let this boil for probably another 15 minutes and let that work through. And I did grab a pair of tongs because I'd like to show you. Let me see if I could find that soup bone. All of the marrow has come out of this bone. So the bone has completely, all the meat on it has disintegrated. We can pull this out now. It's done its job exactly how it should. And there's one piece of fat here from the bone that I'm going to pull out. We don't need that in there. But wow, if you could smell this, you have to try this recipe at home. You can make some adjustments to it. I'm going to boil this for another 15 minutes and then put some in a bowl. Try it out. So here we are with our final bowl of soup. All our vegetables perfectly cooked. Like I said, I did thicken up the gravy a little bit, and not the gravy, you know what I mean, the broth. It's not like gravy because I didn't thicken it up that much. Just a little bit to give it a little more consistency. This is still piping hot right out of the pot. Like I said before in the beginning of this video, I'm going to freeze this in individual containers. That way I can take it to work, have it for lunch, have it for dinner occasionally. This will last me a long time, and feed the family once or twice as well. So if you like this video, if you want these ingredients, I'll put everything down in the description, exactly what I used, the exact proportions of everything I used, and you can mix and match and do what you want on your own and make this your own soup as well. And down in the description will also be links for Pinterest, Twitter, and Facebook. Right here, I'll put another link for a video to watch. Here is the subscription button. Click that to subscribe. Share this video. Give me a like if you like the video. Hit the thumbs up down below. And I will see you next time at Bravo Charlie's.